Okay, so this is ENT 384 going into business in Oregon. And let's just start out here looking at the syllabus. So my name is John Hasbrook. I know some of you had me before, right? All of you guys maybe. But, I'm an attorney here in Monmouth. That's what I do in the real world. I practice law. And as part of my practice, I help people set up small business. LLCs and S corporations, C corporations, and contracts, and doing the paperwork for the Secretary of State and the IRS and that kind of thing. So it's what I do in the real world. I've been practicing law since 1991. I also do like estate planning and wills and trusts and real estate and transactional type work like that. I'm a former prosecutor, used to be a DA in Multnomah County. I was back in the 90s, early 90s, and then I transitioned over to civil practice, and I've had my own practice here in town for over 20 years. So I tell you that because I want you to understand that that's why this class is kind of like what I do in the real world. Well, in fact, it's very much what I do in the real world, and basically this class is all about teaching you what are the steps and how to set up a small business. And that's literally what we're going to be doing. Is just like what I would do in my law practice when I'm assisting somebody in setting up a business. What forms do you need to file? What order do you file them in? For the state of Oregon, for the IRS, what are the different type of business structures? S Corp, C Corp, LLC, partnerships. What are the advantages and disadvantages of them in terms of taxes and liability protections? And so we're going to take a look at all of that. So to begin with, in terms of contacting me, my law office is here in Monmouth at 112 North Atwater Street in Monmouth, which is about 3 blocks on the other side of 99W past Burgerville. I do have an office at West House, although since COVID and, well, even before then, but now so with COVID, I'm not there very often. So if you do want to have a meeting with me, I do that by appointment only. We can either do a Zoom meeting or we can set up a face-to-face. We can meet after class, that works too. But in other words, if you go over to West House, you try to track me down, you probably won't find me there because I'm not there very often. I literally go to my law practice office, drive up here, teach my classes, and then I go back. So if you do need to get a hold of me, at my law office and we can schedule something. This is the phone number for my law practice, 503-838-0251. That will get you either to one of my assistants, Sally or Deanna, or me. Sometimes I answer my own phones. Or you'll get my voicemail. And just leave me a message or tell Sally or Deanna that you're one of my students and they'll put you through if I'm available. If not, they'll give you my voicemail. And then if you want to email me, I've given you both my law practice email, which is johnhasbrook@msn.com, and my Western email at hasbroj@wu.edu. So I give both those to you because, just so you know, I check my office, my law practice email much more often than I check my Western. I mean, literally, I'm looking at my law office email all the time. That's what goes to my iPhone and my laptop and my iPad and all the stuff we have. I check the Western one frequently too, but not as much. And so if you send me an email, it's best if you send it to both of them. That way I'll get it for sure. If you just send it to the Western one, it may take me a day or so, especially if it's over a weekend or something and I'm out of town. Because I have to log on differently to access that email, and it's not as, I can't get it quite as easily. So my law practice email is just a little bit easier. Don't send me an email, well, it's not even an email, it's a message through the Canvas system. I'll show you that in a minute. I do get those, but I only get those when I'm logged on to Canvas, and I don't log on to Canvas as much as I do, except for when I'm grading or something. And so oftentimes I won't see those messages, like sometimes for a week. And so I really don't like the Canvas messenger system. Part of the problem is also I can't reply to you directly from my email. I have to log on to Canvas and reply that way. And again, if I'm somewhere where it's hard for me to log on to Canvas, because you have to do all that Duo stuff and stuff, I won't be able to respond to you quite as quickly, where if you just email me here, I can respond to you right off my iPhone, literally. So, okay, enough about that. So let's talk about this class. And I just realized I have an error on my syllabus, which I'll show you in a minute. But, so first of all, in terms of textbooks, I don't have a textbook per se. I have put together this packet of information which has the term assignment and various different forms that you use for business. There's a lot of different stuff in here. We won't go through every single page here. But I just put it all together here. This is what I'll be using each week for lectures. And this is also where you find the forms that you'll need to set up your business project, which I also have this on our Canvas page in a PDF format. And I also have the forms in here, some of them on Canvas in a Word format, if you want to do your own. And I'll show you that more in a minute. So this is at the bookstore. I don't know, it's like 12 bucks or something. And then it's also on our Canvas page in PDF for free, so if you don't want to print it out, that's up to you, however you like to do things. I don't really have another textbook, so this is really the only one. Now, in terms of how the class operates, each week we'll have lectures. These are the various different topics I'll generally be covering. Basically, I just start at the beginning of this book and I work my way through. And again, we don't go through every single page. I just want you, I have the forms in there so you've got an easy way to find them. And we'll just talk about beginning business organization formats, how you register a business, what are the forms to get the business set up, the different aspects of benefits and pros and cons of the different formats. And we'll just talk about that as we work our way through the term. In terms of grading, and this is where I have an error, I grade on 3 criteria: attendance and Canvas participation. So I need to change that. This is pre-COVID language. I don't take attendance anymore for various reasons, but the way I grade attendance is I have video links on Canvas for the Oregon Secretary of State videos, which I'll show you in a moment. And then basically I want you to watch all those videos. They're not, there's like all together it's like an hour of videos. They're short little videos that show you the steps and some of the nuances on how to set up a business in Oregon. And so if you watch all those, it shows me that you've watched them in your activity logs. That's how I judge attendance. So I'm not going to be keeping a ledger each week. And so it's all going to be, I'll go on at the end of the term, make sure that you watched all those videos. If you did, you get 200 points. And if you didn't watch them all, I basically deduct 20 points per video, because I think there's 10 of them. So if you watch them all, you can literally do it in an hour. You'll have perfect attendance. The assignment is the big portion of your grade, worth up to 600 points, and I'll come back to that one in a moment. And then we have a final exam, which is worth 200 points. The final exam is online. It's 25 questions. It's open book, open note, open internet. You do it on Canvas on your own time. However, it's due Wednesday of finals week, which is March 16th. You have to have it done by then, because I'm going to start grading the next day and get all the grades entered on Thursday, because I'm taking off Thursday afternoon to go camping for a week. So got to get it done by Wednesday. It's online, true, false, multiple choice type questions, and again, it's open book, open notes, over the materials we covered during lectures and the forms. And I'll be talking about that more as we work our way through. This is a 1-hour class. I recognize that. I literally, in some ways, this could be a 3-hour class very easily with all the different nuances in setting up a business. But I recognize that, and so I'll just tell you right now, it's not particularly difficult, the final. You're going to want to have the book in front of you so you can answer questions about like the different tax forms and stuff. And we'll talk about that later, and I'll show you where it's at here on Canvas. So now let's talk about the project. So basically, the project is essentially, I want you to start the steps of what you would do in the real world if you were going to start a small business. And do the forms that you need to do to get it filed, and write up a description about the type of business you're going to have, what products or services you're going to be selling or providing, where you're going to be located, and then I want you to, like I say, put all those forms together just like you would in the real world, and I'll show you how to do all that. And then I also want you to analyze what permitting and licensing and what types of permissions you would have to have from the government or the private sector, insurance companies, etc., to be able to legally do that business. Do you need to have a business permit? Do you need to be licensed with the Construction Contractors Board? That kind of thing. And so you're going to have to do some research on that depending on the type of business that you're going to be doing. It's like if you're a restaurant and you want to sell beer and wine or whatever, you have to get your permits through the health department for your restaurant. You'll have to get your serving permits through OLCC. And I want you to research that depending on what type of business you choose to do. And then part 3 is I want you to think about what I call risk management, and that is think through, okay, what are things that could go wrong, and how do I protect myself from that? What type of insurance should I be getting? What type of entity should I be using, like an LLC or a corporation, to provide a liability shield? What type of posters do I have to have out there for my employees? How do I protect my intellectual property, like trademarks and copyrights and patents, and that kind of thing? And I want you to describe it for me, think through what problems you might have and what steps you'll take ahead of time to try to mitigate those risks and using insurance and whatnot. So that's essentially the project, and I want you to break it down into those 3 parts. Now with that said, I have a more detailed instruction for your project, which is the first 3 pages of this yellow book. I'll just show it to you real quickly here. Eventually. Okay, so this is the first 3 pages of the book. I also have these term instructions posted on our Canvas page. So basically I want you to follow this general format. I want you to write up the assignment. It should be somewhere around 8 to 10 pages, not including the attachments, and break it down into 3 different parts. Part 1 is the organizational part. Give me a narrative down below here, part 1. I want you to describe your business, your marketing ideas, your customer base, that kind of thing. For some of you that may have done this for other business courses, like a business plan or something like that, if you want to take that and modify it, that's fine with me. You don't need to recreate the wheel. I've had a lot of students do that. And then as part of part 1, I want you to tell me how you're going to organize it, what type of structure, LLC or S Corp or whatever. And then I want you to attach all of the documents that you're going to need to set up that business, to file it with the state and the IRS and other departments. And I want you to fill those out and attach them. All of those forms are in my yellow book, but I will also show you where to find them on the internet in the real world, and we'll go through how to fill those out. But before I go beyond that, let me just throw out something. When you're filling out those forms, please don't give me your real information, your personal information. I don't want your social security number, date of birth, address. Use a fictional 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or whatever. Okay. You live at 120 Mickey Mouse Lane in Disneyland, Oregon. You can make that up. So please don't put. I've had students do that. I'm like, I don't want to see that. So, but make sure you put your name on there so I know whose it is, right? But other than that, when you fill the forms out, please don't give me your personal information. And also on the forms, some of them are pretty detailed. I don't want you to stress about if you don't have every little box checked just exactly right. When I grade, I don't micro detail that kind of grading. I literally am going through and I have a little checklist, which I'll show you. Did you do this form? Is it most of the way filled out? Yes, you're good. This is a 1 hour class. This could, like I say, easily be a 3-hour seminar. I don't want you to stress about that. If you do have any questions during the term, feel free to bring your papers in. I'll be more than happy to take a look at them. Make sure you're on the right track and that kind of thing. All right, so that's part 1 of your assignment. So that's literally how I want you to write it up. Part 1, I just kind of follow my outline. Part 2 is the next page over. This is a little bit more of a description about what I want you to do with part 2. Licensing and regulatory requirements, research what permits and licensing and zoning and other issues that you would run into in setting up your business. And then tell me what steps you took to research that. Give me links. You can just use internet web links. I don't need anything fancy in terms of works cited. Just tell me what links you visited, what you found out. You may find out there's not a permit requirement, and that's fine too, depending on what kind of business you're going to have. Some businesses are much more regulated than others, as we know. And so, if you're going to be doing a bar or something, you're going to have a lot more regulations than if you're just doing a online t-shirt shop. So, you're going to have different regulations you have to deal with. And that's what I want you to research on your own and talk about some of those issues. And we'll get, we're going to cover this as we go through the term when I do my lectures. And then part 3 is, and again, this is in the yellow book, page 3. I want you to describe what kind of risks and that sort of thing, how you're going to limit your liability, kind of insurance you're going to get, and protect yourself and your customers. And that, again, will depend on the type of business that you choose. I'll talk about some of the different types of insurance coverages available in the class. We'll also talk about intellectual property, U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, how you register those. We don't go into a lot of detail there, but I'll show you a little bit how that works. And so all of that, so part 1, part 2, and part 3 all together should be about 8 to 10 pages. I'll leave it up to you if you want a double space, single space, or a combination of them. Formatting is up to you. I'm not real picky, I'll just tell you that right now. Also, just before I forget, when you send your project in, I want you to post it on Canvas. And if you want to send me a duplicate email, just in case the Canvas doesn't take it, but I'll have a link on Canvas where you can upload it in a PDF or a Word RTF format. But again, if you want to email it to me as a double measure, that's fine. If you want to turn in a hard copy, that's fine too. But I don't. If you do turn in a hard copy, you don't need to put it in a binder or like a 3-ring binder or anything. I don't need that. Just staple it all together because I'm just going to take it out of the binder anyway. It's a waste of your money. So my preference is a PDF file that you just upload right on Canvas, and I'll show you how to do that on Canvas. I think I've got that activated. So with that said, let's take a look at our Canvas page. Oops, switch computers here. All right. Okay, so on our Canvas page, here I have the syllabus, which I was just showing you. This is the handout packet in a PDF format, so that's my yellow book right here. And then here, corporate and LLC forms. Those are forms that I actually use as basic forms in my law practice. Those forms are also in the yellow book, so like bylaws, operating agreement, that kind of thing, but they're in a Word format. So when you're doing your project, you can either use the forms straight out of the book and handwrite on them, or if you want to print them out, modify them yourself, I do give you those forms right there. And again, those are the same forms that I use as a starting point when I set up a business. Obviously, I tailor them depending on the type of business. But I do have those all right there if you want to do those. I have had students out of this class that have started real-life businesses, and they've used those forms before. They do need to be modified. I mean, they're not cookie cutter kind of thing. All right, so here is the link for the Oregon Secretary of State video series that I was talking about. So this is your attendance. And there's a link here. Double check that it works. Worked the other day. Okay, so here are those videos. And that comes from the Oregon Secretary of State YouTube page. And they're short little videos that just go through, a lot of this I'll talk about in class as well. But it gives you, kind of more information from the Secretary of State's office on how to set up a business and some of those resources they have available. They're really helpful, so that's why I put them on there. And then here is, under final exam, the term assignment link. That's where you'll submit your term assignment, and then this is the final exam right here. That's what you'll take the final exam, and again, it's due March 16th. So is the term assignment. I need to tweak that. Anyway, that's where you'll upload your link. I need to adjust the settings, and if you have a problem with it at the time, just let me know. Send me an email or whatever. So, okay. Any questions so far? All right. So, if there's no questions, that's pretty much it for today. I'm not going to start lecture until next week. So, if you do have a question, feel free to get a hold of me. And if not, I'll see you next week.